The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Tastes just like candy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ask for Candy, where we talk about healing, self-care, love, sex, relationships, and what it takes to be amazing on the daily. Who I am is CandiceHarperLoveCoach.com, honey. And my purpose with this podcast is to create healthy romantic relationships all around the world through self-love, soul connections, and sweetness. But before we get to that, those of you who've been listening to the show know that normally we're broadcasting live on social media with Celebrity Magazine. We're going to go on hiatus with Celebrity Magazine for a little while. However, if you're subscribed to our audio podcast, you know that our season never truly ends. So I want you to go on over to Ask for Candy on Anchor, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you normally download podcasts, and subscribe so you don't miss a beat. Also, you can email us at askforcandypodcast@gmail.com to leave comments and ask questions. And those questions I always answer in a later broadcast, or sometimes I make them topics for the show. Now, a little bit about me. If you're new, for almost 9 years, I have been a relationship coach and a workshop facilitator, and you can go to mywellbeing.com to work with me one-on-one. I'm also a professional matchmaker with a luxury matchmaking service that brings high-end singles together to find their perfect love. And this is me living into my purpose, the purpose of loving myself unconditionally and inspiring others to do the same, using our romantic lives as a portal, an inspiration, a catalyst to our highest possible selves. Relationship coaching is my zone of genius, and the best part about it is that week to week I get to grow and learn as I interact with hundreds of people around the world, around the most intimate parts of their lives. I get to take people on their journey from caterpillar to butterfly, unhappy with their love lives or their partners to ecstatic. And I get to teach people how to get out of their own way and tap into love as a limitless resource. And I do that using tools like EFT, RTT hypnotherapy, and my own coaching curriculum of exercises that uses the natural processes of the mind to cause major love life transformation. Most importantly of all I get to do is that I get to be part of what supports healthy relationships and healthy beginnings, sustainably healthy couplings, and I get to be the cause of self-love, soul connections, and sweetness. And I'm really excited about the show tonight because we are taking a little detour with our show. And I have invited a new friend who's sort of like instant family. We just like hit it off right away. Instantly felt like he was my cousin, my brother, just somebody, just really connected, really, really cool cat. I just love him to death. He's coming to co-host with me for a while. We're going to ride it till the wheels fall off. We don't know how long this is going to go. But tonight, starting tonight, Frank Love. Welcome, Frank Love. How are you, honey?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. And if our interaction as we've started to get to know one another transfers to this podcast, we're going to have a great time. I agree. We're going to entertain some people too.
Right? We've had some lively conversations already, right?
Yes.
Well, let me tell the people some stuff about you, and then I'm going to give you an opportunity to kind of get related as well. So Frank Love is a loving husband, a father of 6, a speaker, a podcaster, a blogger, a vlogger, and a coach as well. He's the author of Relationship Conversations You Don't Want to Have, but Should Anyway, and 25 Ways to Be Loving. He's a native of Washington, D.C. Frank has degrees from both Howard and George Washington universities. However, one divorce, a long-spanning current marriage, and years of observing relationships has been his formal education in the challenges that couples face around loyalty, trust, and partnerships. These observations led him to question his own motives and methods. I can't wait to hear about your motives and methods, honey. We're going to have to talk about that.
Let's talk.
Right? After years of research, writing, and inquiry, he has concluded that romantic partnerships tend to be filled with behaviors that are anything but loving, from scorekeeping to martyrdom to blaming and shaming. and believing that it's time we all start taking an honest look at what it means to be loving and how to implement those skills, Frank Love has embarked upon a fascinating journey to uncover and discover what it means to love and how to discern when we are not being loving. I feel like that is some quality stuff right there. Because that's some good discernment. I think sometimes we think that we're being loving and it's like the last thing that we're doing. His in-your-face declaration, I want to be loved and accepted in my relationship no matter what I do, and you do too, is a powerful wake-up call to himself and to us as we all work to create the supportive, empathetic, and mutually fulfilling relationships that we so desperately want. Now Frank is here with us and excited to introduce us to all of this loving conversation with the sincere hope that we will be more caring in the world and in our communities, beginning with our romantic relationships. Welcome, Frank Love.
You said a mouthful.
I did. You know I can go.
I do. I mean, we have talked.
Yes.
Back and forth and different tones of conversation for hours.
It's true.
Yes, I do know.
And the people know. The people who regularly listen, they know I can run my mouth. I told you what my dad said to me one time, right? When I was young.
Which was this? What did he say?
He said one time when I was real young, he's like, Candace, if you stop talking, your mouth won't fall off. I didn't believe him. I still don't believe him.
Right.
So welcome, my Frank.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's good to have you.
Where do we go? Where you want to go?
Well, here's the thing. I just want the audience to be able to get to know you. And so, like we were talking about before, I do want us to play this questions card game, but I also want to just kind of ask you some questions about yourself as well. Okay. And our whole meeting and stuff like that. So, I read through your bio and everything like that, and I love, how purposeful it is and what you're up to around it. But was it your challenges in relationship? Like, what was it that was the thing that inspired you to say, this is it? Like, this is what I want to teach people, and this is the avenue I want to take.
It's interesting because, I have, for many years, I've had what I'll call interesting conversations with people about relationships.
Yeah.
And people would say things to the effect of, the way you look at things is different, but you make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the seed. And then I started blogging because I had something to get out. And really that was it. I had some message to get out. And it's over the years that I've really begun to hone my message.
Yeah.
And to make sense of it to me and to other people. The way it got there, it's been a litany of things coming from different directions. So it's a divorce, a marriage, children, conversations over time. It's been figuring out where my sensitive spots are, what I care about, and what I'm the one of the ways I figured that out was, and it is helping men become more loving in their relationships. So one of the ways I figured out how my sweet spot was really men, and I've always known it at some level. But it is, I was watching movies like what is it, Creed, or Antoine Fisher, or Coco. And these were all movies where, and those are that's just a few of them. That's just 3, but there's many.
Yeah. Where
young men, but males were working through their emotional stuff. Yeah. And I found myself tearing up, really, crying.
Yeah.
In the movie. And it was like, wow, I get it. This is where I'm really touched. And this is the community or the sweet spot for me, where I really feel most fed when I'm doing something to help them.
Yeah. Was it because the stories resonated, or was it because you felt like, because I know I'm like that when I see other women in peril or crying or sad, like it definitely, you know, and part of human empathy, but still there's that resonation because it's, you know, you see maybe yourself in it. Is like, what is it for men or for you in particular?
Well, definitely seeing myself in it.
Yeah.
If you remember any of those movies, or did you see any of them?
I saw Creed. What was the other one that you said? Creed, Coco, and what was the other one that you knew? Antoine Fisher. I saw parts of Antoine Fisher, never the whole thing.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So anybody who saw Antoine Fisher, if there's one scene in the movie, there's only one scene in the movie, and that's the very end.
Yeah.
So if you didn't see the end, you didn't see the movie.
Okay.
Now, that was him working through his stuff around his family.
Yeah.
Being abandoned. And then how his family ultimately surrounded him.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
Then Creed, Rocky and Apollo's son were, you know, they were coming along together, and then Rocky was basically gonna give up because he had prostate cancer. He didn't want to fight any longer. He didn't want to get any treatment, and the nephew, Apollo Creed's son, was kind of like, "You're just gonna leave me?
Yeah.
You're gonna leave me?" I mean, he was so hurt
because he wanted him to train him, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
He wanted him to train him, but they were developing a relationship also.
Yeah.
You know, and he was talking about dying.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want to get treatment.
Yeah.
And then, what was the other movie? Coco. Oh man, anybody who saw Coco knows. I mean, just the end when the boy was with his grandmother.
Oh yeah, I did see that. It's a Pixar. Is it a Pixar?
It's a cartoon. Yes.
Yeah, I did see that. It is good. Yeah.
Yeah. So just working through stuff, and I think the first time I found myself crying in a movie was when I went to see X.
Okay.
The Malcolm X movie.
Yeah.
And that was 1992.
Yeah.
And at the end, when Ozzie Davis was reading the eulogy, which was the actual eulogy that he read at his actual funeral.
Uh-huh.
But at the end, when Ozzie Davis was reading the eulogy in the movie, I was just bawling.
Yeah.
It was just different.
Yeah.
It's a very different experience. And my girlfriend, who was sitting next to me, I was trying to hide it from her. It was, I was learning. Learning. What can I say?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what I love about you, Frank, because you're very candid about, just having feelings and emotions. And I feel like, and I don't know if, we're the same age. I don't know if that's our generation on up, because I always say that our generation is like the therapy generation, where we just started to kind of make it okay for people to have emotions, especially men in particular. But, what I like about you is that you're just very frank about how you feel about things, and you don't mind just sharing what is true for you emotionally. And I feel like a lot of men struggle with that, with being able to do that, and I feel like a lot of women struggle with men doing that.
And that's one of those things that helps me move forward, that helps me do my work, because it's important. It's important to cultivate that seed in my brothers. It's important to be an example for my brothers. It's important for me to be an example for brothers in getting in touch with their emotions and the effect of their behaviors.
Yeah.
But I mean, sisters have their own emotional stuff going on too.
That's
so
true.
It's not just sisters in their dealings with brothers who have troubles with emotions. It's sisters have their own emotional stuff to deal with too.
Yeah.
And the two, as the two come together, men and women trying to figure their stuff out, it could create a tidal wave. It could be quite a ride.
Yeah.
So while men is my quote unquote sweet spot. I speak to women too. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not like I say I don't speak to the sisters, because we all have to work together. It's just the sweet spot, as I put it, is the brothers. But you can't deal with one without the other. It's not possible.
Yeah, no, it's true. You just reminded me of, so for the audiences listening, Frank and I actually met in a community called the Wake Up Everybody community, where it's a healing community, talk about personal growth, and there's different leadership that comes in. And both Frank and I have facilitated workshops with this group. And so Frank, they always say that a lot of the ladies always say that Frank's ideas and concepts are radical. They say that I actually think that I align with them. Like, I like a lot of the stuff that you talk about. But one thing that I admire is that you specifically were able to sit in a workshop full of women and say some things that, sometimes can ruffle some feathers.
Yeah.
Right. And be with it. Like, you were able to sit and be with, a reaction that was, I don't know. Sometimes things can be sensitive when we're talking like cross gender. Things can be sensitive. I mean, I feel like I've been in situations where I've said stuff that men are like, but I think men are more like, who's she to even be talking? Because men can be quick to dismiss what women have to say. And I guess women can in their own way too, but women tend to get mad about it. I don't know. What do you think about that? Having been in that position.
I can definitely, what could be said, press buttons.
Mm-hmm.
But the real goal is to inspire a direction of thought. It's really to give you something to chew on.
Yeah.
These are my thoughts. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
This is my experience. What's your experience? And let's talk about it. And perhaps you'll influence me, and I hope you will. Perhaps I'll influence you, and I hope I will.
Yeah.
And we just talk, and we get to know one another, and I get to reveal my honesty, because a lot of the modality a big modality that I use is my own experience, where I'm able to look at and share the mistakes or the ways of looking at things that I once had, and to share how they were or were not working for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it boils down, and at some level, it boils down to being honest with myself. And I find when I'm really honest with myself, I get a lot clearer, and I get to see where I'm messing up, and have messed up, what I could have done differently, or what I can do better moving forward. But it really takes a genuine, honest conversation with myself. And sometimes that's inspired by a conversation with someone else. I could be talking to you, and you share a nugget with me or something that leads me to go back and sit with it. And it's just what I consider a positive working dynamic.
Yeah.
And it starts with the positive working dynamic with myself, and a general understanding or belief that everything that I experience in my life, I created. And that's a lot. That's a mouthful. And that's a level to play the game, and I don't suggest it for everybody. And
a lot of people will kick back with that one.
Right. I'm not saying that's the case for you. Yeah. I'm just saying it's the case for me.
Yeah.
When I look at any situation that I've been in where I got results that I did not want, I can also look at what I could have done differently to possibly get a different result, or where I contributed to the breakdown of that dynamic.
Like personal responsibility for our experiences.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I love it. So, you say, I want to be loved and accepted in my relationship no matter what I do, and you do too, which I love that because, I'm always preaching about unconditional love. But I want to ask you, did that, because I wasn't always preaching about unconditional love. There was a time where my love was very conditional. So, and I always say if it's conditional, it's not love. But that thinking that I want to be loved and accepted in my relationship no matter what I do, and you do too, was that inspired by your first marriage? Was that inspired by a relationship? Or is that something that you came to based on what? What had you thinking down that road?
It's a little hard to say because it could be a bunch of things coming together that cause that spark to go off. But it is no doubt that those things, each one of the things that you said, contributed to it.
Yeah.
And as I look at the healing necessary, or that's the healing possibilities with me and my ex-wife, even things to do now.
Yeah.
It's that understanding that I want to be loved and accepted in my relationship no matter what I do, and you do too, and that my partner, and where were you not loving and understanding or accepting in your previous relationship, and how did that affect her? How did that affect your relationship, your marriage, that sort of thing? Those things, they continue to resonate with me right now.
Yeah.
And I am constantly processing that, and I'm not abandoning it. I get that there's work to do, and hopefully I'm given time from God to do it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Why do you think that people that they give such kickback around that? Because I did an interview one time with a therapist, and she kind of threw me a little bit because I started talking about unconditional love, and she's like, I don't even have unconditional love for my children. Like, she immediately was like ready to just shut down the idea of that. And I have my theory for why I think people do that. Why do you think that people are often so quick to just be like, that's an impossible, especially with romantic relationships? I feel like, especially culturally, as people of color, we try to put romantic relationships, we try to treat them like they're not important, but then our entire lives are it's our entire life. It's surrounded by it. But then it's like, oh, we try to act like that's just frivolous. It's not a big deal. And if you say that you can love somebody unconditionally, romantically, people will be ready to fight you. What do you think? What do you think that's about?
It's without talking about anybody in particular,
yeah.
The person who you interviewed, it's a cop out. It's
yeah.
a way to not even get started on the journey. If you say, hey Frank, I'd like for us to build this building, and I say it's not possible, I don't even have to go any further with you.
Yeah.
We don't have to have a conversation anymore if I just determine that it's not possible.
Yeah.
And it allows me to abandon it all.
I don't have to do any work.
I don't have to do any work.
Yeah.
I don't have to do any work. And I can hide behind there being no possibility.
Yeah.
But if you say, hey, let's build this building on this empty lot, and neither one of us has any experience, but I'm willing to say, all right, I don't know what I'm doing, and you say, no, I don't have any clue what I'm doing. We still get to work on it. It becomes a journey.
Yeah.
But a lot of people aren't interested in that journey and don't believe that it's possible because, and I mean, probably someone who's a therapist is at least, let's say, at least 35 years old.
Yeah.
35.
Yeah.
Well, they got 35 years of history.
Yeah.
That have led to them believing that that's not possible.
Yeah.
And it could have been how they were parented, could be the way they're parenting their own children.
Yeah.
And you and I who believe in it get to be patient with that person.
Yeah.
And that individual to begin to show them or begin to share with them that it's even possible.
Yeah.
That loving somebody in the face of any given circumstance is possible.
Yeah.
And that becomes, if we truly believe in what we say we believe in, that becomes our work. And so we don't get the convenience of writing them off.
Yeah.
And we don't get the convenience of saying that you just don't get it.
Yeah.
Even though they may not, quote unquote, get it. But it becomes our responsibility and our duty as we look to create a greater world, a better world, to work to somehow plant the seed in those individuals who don't believe, so that hopefully they begin to feel the message and give it to other people.
Yeah.
I guess that was a mouthful. I don't know if I answered you.
You did. No, you totally did, because it makes sense that people would kick back, because then it means I'm going to have to do differently than I've done before, or I'm going to have to do the work. So that totally makes sense. I think it's that, and I also think it's that people have this idea that love is hearts and flowers all the time. Like, I think you can love somebody and get angry at them. You can love somebody and, stand your ground about things, and you can stand up for yourself and still be loving somebody through that. And I think sometimes people think that if I love you, that means I gotta be acting a certain way all the time, or that it has to be all the time flowers, and that means that I'm, whatever you do to me, I just let you walk all over me. I have to be a doormat, and I think that's, I think all of that is true for why people fight against it so hard.
And one of the things that I've found, just in my current relationship, where we hit our bumps and our hills and valleys.
Yeah.
One of the things I've found is to remind myself, who said that your relationship is not supposed to look like what it looks like?
Yeah.
If you all are having an issue, who told you that y'all weren't going to be
We're
having
an
this
issue? I always say that too, right? Like about life in general, I feel like it's like we have this idea that there's some perfect way that things are supposed to be, but nobody really even knows what that is. It's like we're trying to have it be some standard, as if you're never supposed to fight, nothing bad is ever supposed to happen. It's like, like where did we get that concept?
And it ultimately, to me, it's kind of a declaration or a determination that you understand that this is, and you accept that this is the place you're going to be.
Yeah.
The only difference between some people who are married for 50 years, the only definitive difference, now there can be some other things,
mm-hmm.
but the only definitive difference between two people who are married for 50 years and two people who were married for 2 years and are now divorced, the only definitive difference is the people who were married for 50 years, they decided to stay.
Yeah.
Like, that's all we know.
Like, they just kept choosing it over and over again.
They just kept, yes.
Yeah.
Anything else from a bystander's point of view, a third party point of view, anything else we're making up.
Yeah.
That's the only one thing we know.
Yeah.
We know that they decided to stay.
Right.
That's all we know.
Yeah.
We don't know that they got along.
Right.
You don't know that they like each other. You don't know that they didn't go upside each other's head every other day.
Yeah.
You don't know anything.
Yeah.
All you know is they decided to stay. And that's it.
Yeah, for whatever reasons that nobody,
reason.
Even they might even not even know the reason. Right? It's true. Yeah. And we put a lot of stock in that too. I feel like sometimes we look at people who've been together for, like, I look at my parents who I love, and adore, and have done all my work around, or not all my work, but a lot of work around my relationships with them, and can now see them as two human beings, who made some choices. But I look at what their marriage has been, over the course of my life, and, by all rights and everything they would say, you would wonder if these two people even like each other. But if, when it comes down to brass tacks, they will stand up for each other. They will, not go anywhere without the other one.
Yeah.
It's like, who knows what the real deal is and why.
Yeah. Which then leads to a question of, why are we even trying to know?
Yeah.
You know, if you know you don't know, just stop trying to know.
Right.
You know, if you and that goes to looking at other people's relationship as a model.
Yes.
It even goes to looking at your parents' relationship and thinking you have any clue what's going on.
Right.
Because it's highly possible and highly probable you could have grown up in the house with your parents and have no idea what they were working through.
Yeah.
And what their motivations were. Why you don't know much of nothing.
Yeah.
Just leave it alone.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I say to children, and I'm not talking about child children. I'm talking about children meaning they have parents.
Yeah.
Just, I'm a child. In terms of the context of what I'm saying. My parents gave birth to me. So, the children who have issues with one parent, you really don't know what that dynamic between your parents was about.
Yeah.
As much as you think you do, you don't know.
Yeah.
And it's probably, and I say, I'm just trying not to be dogmatic by saying probably, but it's highly possible that you're missing something big, and just leave that between them.
Right.
Let that be between them, and you do what you can to support the relationship.
I like what you said though about that we look for a model, because I think that that's true, and I think the problem that we often run into is it goes back to that thinking that there's some set of rules or some perfection that we're supposed to be, some standard that we're supposed to be meeting. And we try to use other relationships as models and as examples for what we're trying to get to. And, that's why I always feel like it's so important. Like, people will be like, oh, how are you a relationship coach and you're single? And I'm like, well, what I coach people to do is to get in relationship with themselves, right? Be able to trust your own inner knowing. And so I'm not setting down rules for how you be in a relationship, because how I would be in a relationship would be completely different than how you'd be in a relationship, right? Because we have to listen to ourselves. And I love that you're pointing to that we're always looking for this sort of like, this model, this example, this rule book for how things are supposed to be, and no one really knows.
Nobody. It's really a concoction. You and your co-chef in the kitchen.
Yeah. And we all come with our different experiences and our different healing journeys and all our different shit. There would be no way to have like you said, a full understanding of a relationship that you're looking at from the outside. Yeah. It's interesting stuff. That's why I love that we're in this biz.
Hey.
Right?
There's so much to do.
Right?
So many layers to peel back.
So many layers
to look at. It's fun.
Yeah, no, it's true. Absolutely. So, we were talking before. Last week I tried it out a little. We did it a little bit on the show, but I want to maybe do it more often, because I'm loving this. This guy, Ace Metaphor, came up with this game called Tonight Let's Talk. And it's really for intimate relationships. You want to get to know somebody better or whatever. And it's a series of questions. And, you and I were talking about possibly doing something fun around just earlier, doing some sort of facilitation, some sort of workshop, something fun. Maybe having a bunch of people involved, and whether it's games to play. I don't know. We were kind of just tossing around possibilities. But so this Tonight Let's Talk card game by Ace Metaphor is interesting, because it's this stack of I want to say 400 cards. There's a ton of cards here of all kinds of different questions that people can ask each other and get to know each other better. And so I thought it would be fun for the audience to I tell all my stuff. So anybody who listens regularly, they probably know way too much about me, but there's always more to share. But to have you get even more acquainted with the audience and stuff like that, I thought it would be fun for us to play this game.
All right, let's do it. Now, how do you spell ACE? I mean, if somebody wants to buy these cards or find these cards, How do they? What is
How do they
it?
find
Ace?
it? Ace, like the cards, like ACE.
Okay,
Ace
all right.
Ace Metaphor is the name of this guy who
Okay.
put this deck together. It's called Tonight Let's Talk, the card game.
Got it.
Now, the one that I bought was the date night edition. I don't know if there's other editions. I bought this because of matchmaking. I was like, this might be interesting to inspire, matches that I put together to play this game, or it might be something fun for them to do. But yeah, so I don't know if he has different versions of it, but these are really good because, there's just so many random questions. Just randomly go through the deck. You want to do one?
Heck yeah.
We could take turns. I'm going to shuffle them. The people at home, podcast, it's nice to have like a little audio of the shuffle. All right, I'm going to go through. You tell me when to stop. I'm just going to shuffle through.
Stop.
Okay. All right, the question is, do you consider yourself religious? How important is it that your significant other believes what you do spiritually?
Okay, so which one? Which one first? Do I consider myself religious?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
You don't consider yourself
I
religious?
don't consider myself religious.
Yeah.
No, you can know me for years and have no idea what my spiritual or system or any of that is. I mean, it's easy for I don't consider myself that.
Gotcha.
I don't feel there's a need to.
Yeah.
And then what's the other? Do I feel it's...
The other part of it is, how important is it that your significant other believes what you do spiritually?
It depends on what you call spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking about, I mean, you could say it can be argued. Let's say that being respectful, being compassionate, or those could be spiritual tenets at some level. So if that's what we're talking about, it's very important.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about can someone who's Muslim be married to a Christian? And if I was Muslim, could I be married to a Christian? Then the answer, yes, that is possible for me.
Yeah, gotcha. So yeah, I mean, when you play the game for real, the person asking doesn't necessarily answer the question, but I feel like there's only two of us, so maybe we could both answer, right? Because I feel compelled. Because I never really, I talk about my spirituality somewhat on the show. I'm a big believer. My religion is love, and I'm a big believer in do unto others as you'd have others do unto you. I was raised in the Baptist church. And while I do believe in a lot of the tenets of the Bible, and I believe that Jesus was a prophet and had a lot of prolific things to say, I don't consider myself religious at all either. And I don't necessarily, I can't say I don't stand on ceremony, because I do things like meditate and stuff like that. But what religion was for me growing up, although I value it because it did teach me how to have a belief system, what I was taught was that, I always call it that slave time religion, where it's like, we get dressed up, go to church, praise the Lord, and then hope for the best during the week, and then go back and try to get forgiveness for whatever we didn't do right. You know what I mean? So that's my framing of religious. And so for that, I would say I'm not religious, but if I'm honest with myself, there are some things that I do religiously. Like I do meditate religiously. I do yoga religiously. And like you said, certain core values like compassion, kindness, and being a contribution. I feel like if I have a religion, those things are my religion, that I don't, practice without fail. But I definitely try to practice as often as I can. And whether my significant other believes what I do, on a lot of levels, I realized over these years that it is important for me that they not necessarily identify themselves the same way, but the core values, I feel like, have to be the same for me to be able to be with somebody romantically. Yeah. Like they got to get it, that community is important and stuff like that. Yeah.
Sounds like we're aligned.
I think so. I love these questions. So here's the thing. You get to ask this next one, but I don't have, how can you, well, I guess you can't, because you'd have to be able to read it. Can you see it if I put it up close? Yes, you can.
Right.
All right,
Yes,
so okay, so I'm going to go through and hit a stop. Okay, randomly pick one, and then I'm going to show it to you.
If you were to cook for me right now, what dish would you make and why?
Well, first of all, I have to talk to your wife. Make sure it's all right with her. But if we're going to frame this like I'm cooking, if I was cooking for a date, or if I'm cooking for you as my my adopted family, what I would probably, do you like fish?
Love fish.
I love to make a salmon. I love to make a broiled salmon, and I like to broil the skin so it's really crisp, like season it so that it's really crispy on one side. And sometimes I'll do that with Brussels sprouts and asparagus. Nice. And probably something like that. Very keto friendly.
Now, get this. I'm gonna share this with you because I am a salmon snob.
Are you?
I really am. So when I go to a restaurant and I order salmon, I let them know it has to be medium. Yeah. If it's not medium, now unless I cook it at home, it doesn't have the skin. It rarely has the skin when I eat out at a restaurant.
Yeah.
Salmon. But if I order it at a restaurant, I let them know it has to be medium, and if it's not medium, I'm going to send it back.
Yeah.
I tell them that off the top.
Do you?
And yes. And most of the time they get it right.
Yeah.
But that's I don't want my salmon
like
dry.
Tough, right?
It's gotta be just right.
Yeah.
Yeah. My nephew is a butcher, and I told him years ago about this, and I don't know if I told him I was going to make some for him at some point, and I haven't done that yet. I've got to make him some of my medium salmon.
Yeah.
See what he thinks.
I like it medium as well. I won't say that every time I make it, it ends up being medium, because sometimes I do overcook it a little bit, which doesn't thrill me, but I'm one of those people that, like, in as much as I love good food, I have this thing that when I'm eating healthy, I'm not as picky. And I try to eat healthy as much as I can. So even if I kind of like overcook something or whatever, I'll probably still eat it just because it's like, I'm getting my protein or I'm getting my vegetables. But I agree with you. Like when it's nice and medium, and then I like the skin, and then the skin is crispy, that's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
And I also like wild caught too. I don't the farm raised I'm a little afraid of because of the chemicals and stuff. Yeah. Even though I'll sometimes eat it, I do like the wild caught.
And just as an aside, my favorite fish is orange roughy.
Oh yeah.
And halibut.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah. Just for the halibut. Does halibut have a lot of bones in it?
No. I mean, when I've ordered it and when I've had it, when I've cooked it, no, not a lot of bones at all.
No.
Maybe
I feel like
because I bought the fillet or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's my favorite for sure.
Yeah. I feel like I've had it, but probably not in a really long time. Yeah. Now you make me want to go. And it's a white fish, right?
Yeah.
Halibut. Yeah. Well, this game can take you in all different directions. Let's do another round, and then we're gonna have to close off pretty soon. You
realize I didn't answer the same question.
Oh, you didn't answer. Oh. It's all about me, Frank. Go ahead, you answer. I want to hear what do you cook for your wife when y'all ever have date nights where you're the chef?
The closest thing, no. Basically, the closest way I get to where I'm cooking, I usually will go out to the grill. I'll get to grilling, and I'll do chicken, fish, and ribs, and that sort of thing. But that's it, and that's when I cook in the house. But we got a culture at my house where it's almost like it's kind of like everybody cooks for themselves. But I've also, if there's anything I'm preparing these days, I do these big salads. Like I'm talking about a real, I don't even know how to describe
like a mega salad.
It's a huge pot where I go to the grocery store. I buy kale, collards, lettuce, carrots, cucumbers, celery. Just
only things that start with C&K.
Exactly. And then come back and me and the family are in the kitchen cutting it up
Yeah.
for hours, and then we put it all together, and I got a huge salad to eat from over the course of the next basically week, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And
That's
so,
good. That's how, I mean, whatever gets those greens in,
yeah,
I'm a big advocate of, right?
I am too.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm happy to say that I'm working on a culture that seems to be catching hold at some level in my household.
I love that your cooking specialty is such a dad thing. The dad always grills.
Hey,
That's a dad specialty.
it is.
That and often breakfast. My dad used to be really good at breakfast. He would do like banana pancakes and stuff like that.
Really? 'Cause
Yeah.
that's my thing.
Banana pancakes?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Banana pancakes, the sausage, and I got that banana pancakes piece from my uncle,
Yeah.
Uncle Yao, who used to do the same thing. He's been gone for 20 years now.
Yeah.
He used to do banana pancakes, and I have continued in this tradition.
Yeah.
Pancakes, maybe cheese and eggs, some sausage, beef or turkey sausage, and some turkey bacon, maybe some grits.
Yeah.
That whole thing.
I love it. I will have to admit that I have a guilty pleasure. Every now and then I will do the pork bacon for a good breakfast. Even though, like,
no
judgment.
No judgment.
No judgments is good. It's good. Every now and then, I try to do it sparingly enough that it's guilt free. Maybe once or twice a year, but every now and then.
Yeah.
But all those things sound good too. I like a turkey sausage. I don't mind the turkey bacon. As long as those banana pancakes are there. You want to do another question before we wrap up?
Whatever your pleasure.
All right, let's do it. I'm going to go through and you say stop.
Stop.
Okay. All right. Oh, wow, this is weird because we were talking about this the other day. This question came up. If your significant other gets their dream job in a city far away, are you willing to relocate? And far away, actually, it's far away from your family. Are you willing to relocate?
Far away from, you say my family, you mean like the children or my birth family, or what? Where does your imagination take you? Doesn't sound like it's that clear.
Well, I think the way that it's stated, what I went to was like people who live with their extended or near their extended family. Like if you grow up in your town and you're still, around your parents, aunts and uncles and stuff like that, and maybe siblings. So like whether you have kids or not, if let's say your wife were to get a dream job and the city's far away, would you leave everything? Would you leave what is your home and relocate?
I don't know. And I say that because I don't want to be closed to whatever comes up in my relationship.
Yeah.
It would take a lot. It would have to be a dream job.
Yeah.
Something significant. But I would not do it happily. I mean, it's not something that I would just automatically be
let's
gung-ho
go
with. But I can do it.
Yeah.
I can do it. And once I get to reminding myself I can do it, I can get gung-ho.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be a guilty thing. If I'm gonna do it, I want to do it. I want to do it spiritually, full, and with genuine support. No guilt.
Got it. Meaning like you'd want to go ahead and put 100 into it if you chose to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Not saying I did this for you and that sort of thing. No.
Yeah.
I'm doing it because it's the thing to do. I signed on for this, so I'm on it. I'm on board 100%.
I love what you're pointing at because I think there's so much freedom in that, especially in a partnership. Like, because there is a lot of choices and decision making that has to include that other person when you make the choice to be committed and be together, right? It's like we find ourselves in these things where it's like, I wouldn't be doing this if I wasn't with you. And it's so important to be able to have ourselves get to that place where we say, well, still, I'm choosing it. So if I'm going to choose it, I might as well choose it all the way. Otherwise, I'm I'm choosing something else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
choosing to lord this over you, or choosing to be able to say later on that I didn't really want this. I mean, it's just
Or now you owe me. You have to give me this because I gave you that.
Yeah. It's just a half way of doing things. It's an uncommitted way of doing things. When you can just get all in and just be all in and act like it is what's for you, because it can be.
I think it goes back to what you were talking about creating our own experience. That's one of those ways to be able to take responsibility for creating our own experience. So yeah, I'm moving because you got a dream job and I'm choosing to do that, but I can create that experience to be amazing for myself as well, or I can create that experience to be something where it's not amazing for me because I don't really want to do it, and I'm going to make sure you suffer too.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep. And it's not uncommon.
Yeah.
It's very common. Maybe not with issues as big as moving across the country.
Yeah.
But that dynamic is very common in relationships where we're I want to say where we're keeping score.
Yeah.
Where we're not really seeing ourselves as a unit. We see ourselves as individuals that need to be compensated for what we have done for the other party.
Yeah.
Instead of realizing what I did for you is actually I'm doing it for me.
Yeah.
We're rolling together, and what benefits you will benefit me ultimately.
Yeah.
By definition.
Totally. I love that you said that too, because I do feel like that you mentioned in your that martyrdom thing, where it's like, if I'm doing it for you, I gotta be doing it for me, because what's the point? Why are we together if I don't feel like I'm doing it for me by having you benefit?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, now we could start on a whole nother hour right now.
We haven't heard your answer.
Right, that's true. So for me, it's interesting because there was one person in my life. We were together for 13 years, and he definitely would have been someone, and even that would have been a difficult choice because I've always wanted to live in New York City. So this was early in my adulthood. He and I were together from when I was 21 years old to like 34 almost, or 33, 34, I forget. But in that time that we were together, if there were anybody that I just would have relocated and picked up and gone wherever they needed to go, he would have been that person. But even then, because I so badly wanted to live in New York, that would have been a hard choice. And I probably, know who I was then, probably would have done exactly what we're talking about. Made the choice to go, but made sure that he knew that, I was holding it over his head. I gave up this, that, and the other for you. So I want to make sure you never forget it, which probably would have, led to the demise of our relationship, which,
I got a context question for you. So
sure.
You wanted to live in New York. Does that mean you grew up in New York, and that's why you wanted to live in New York because it was home, or you grew up somewhere else? And if you grew up somewhere else, where did you grow up?
Yeah.
Color in those lines for me.
Yeah. So I'm an Air Force brat.
Okay.
And I was born in Aurora, Colorado. And we moved to the Philippines, and we moved a lot when I was younger. And my dad, we were in Ohio by the time my dad retired from the Air Force, and then got a civilian job in Pittsburgh. And I ended up growing up mostly in Pittsburgh. But I can tell you that from when I was probably as young as 5 or 6 years old, the first thing that I ever saw on television about New York City, I can remember being that young and saying, that is where I'm going to live.
Got it.
And every movie that I saw after that, and you think about it, because we're talking about growing up in the 80s and 90s. So there were movies like Fort Apache, The Bronx. There were movies like, what was it, Beat Street. There were all these movies that made New York look like this gritty, tough, and it used to be, right? It was the only place I knew I wanted to go. I was like, I gotta live there.
Okay.
Yeah.
See where these questions can take us?
Right?
And you got one podcast host talking to another podcast host. I haven't done it for a little while now, but you know, I can get my interview hat on at times too.
Well, you're gonna have to in the course of our journey, right? Because we're gonna be going back and forth with all of this. Yeah, I feel like this was a really fun introduction of you into this little podcast, Frank Love.
All right, I'll be here.
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome. I'm looking forward to all the things that we're going to talk about. And, you know, for those of you who are listening, we are going to talk about all of it. And, you know, what I love about Frank is that he's not afraid to talk about all of it. We can, you know, dive in and jump into all of those juicy conversations. But Frank, I want you to tell everybody how they can get at you, work with you, follow you, all that good stuff.
My website is frank-love.com. You can find me there. frank@franklove.com is email. That's the easy way. I mean, if you want to work with me on a coaching capacity, you can reach out to me via email. And we'll go from there.
Awesome. I'm also going to put your links in the description of the show, if that's cool. Yeah. And I think that's it. That's a wrap for this one. You know, you guys know that you can follow me at Candy Love Coach and at Ask for Candy Podcast. And shout out to everybody in the Ask for Candy podcast group and anybody who's listening, those of you who might be listening out on Armed Radio, the Celebrity Magazine people who've subscribed. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. For those of you who are used to watching it on watching Celebrity Magazine or Celebrity TV, you can also watch our replays on the Celebrity YouTube channel. And yeah, until next time, never forget that you are a love machine. If you ever start to feel like you aren't getting the love you need, just make more and ask for candy. Thank you, Frank Love. I can't wait till next week. I can't wait for this journey. I'm so excited. Welcome.
Thank you. Let's do it.
All right. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Bye, everybody. Bye.